This is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat. I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Yeah, this is the Black Country Blokes chewing the fat about everything it is mental health, disability, and life in general. Here with me, Kev Dillon, and my partner in crime, as always, Lee Cadman. And today we're going to be talking about the strikes. And it's everywhere, it's all over social media, the mainstream media. And I think what the press and the politicians thought we were going to do is turn on our key workers. And I'm happy to say we're not. But before we get into that and all the nitty gritty, if you're out there, write in, put your comments on it. And if you are listening to us on YouTube, press the subscribe button. And if you're on Apple, please leave a comment and a review. But as always, we're going to go into our gratitude list. I'm grateful that I'm feeling well. First time in ages, I'm feeling bloody robust. Just feeling great. I'm always running at 80%, 90%, 80%, but I'm actually feeling bloody good. I'm back into my exercise. I've done my weights today. I've done my first run in God knows how long, and I hate running, but it's going to get the timber off me. But I'm eating better. I actually had a brilliant night's sleep last night, and yeah, I'm grateful for feeling well. How about you, old pal?
Cool. I think this week, what am I grateful for? Considering you ask this question every week, you'd think I'd prepare, wouldn't you, Kevin? That's per usual. What's that?
Twice a week.
You know what? I'm grateful for the book you brought me. I'm looking forward to reading that, Kev.
Everyone who's been listening to us ever since Christmas, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, the TV program, it's amazing. You can get it on iPlayer. You can, if you're on Sky TV, you can talk into your remote. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And I bought Leader Book because you love reading, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I absolutely love reading. I'm looking forward to reading it. I've got a bit of a backlog actually of books I've got to read at the moment, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting around to that. And on another note, I'm grateful. I passed my level 2 Sen Law today as well.
Have you done it?
Yeah, I passed it today, so I'm now on to level 3, the last level. I'm looking forward to getting started on that.
Is there 3 levels?
3 levels.
Bloody hell, you've done that well, haven't you?
I've done it. You get 6 months to do with them, and done the first 2 within a month.
Fair play.
But you know what? When you get your head stuck into it, it's been a great distraction for me, to be quite honest, to be doing that, because you have to be fully focused to do it. So yeah, it's been great distraction about everything else that's going on, and just sitting down and concentrating on that and getting through it. And it's been enjoyable.
We need people like if anyone has to listen to it again, can you explain what the Sen is?
So yeah, it's basically the law regarding children with disabilities, children and young people with disability, and regarding to what they're entitled to within schools and things along that line. It's a bit more complicated than that, but as I've said to Kev, we'll get a true professional on with us one day, and we'll sit down and do a proper podcast on it.
But once again, it affects people, doesn't it, with disabilities and the families of disabilities and education.
Yeah.
And which brings us on to the strikes, because it's our teachers, our nurses, our train drivers and
ambulance workers,
and these things. And whether you're poor or whether you're on the benefits or whether you're the working class or whether you're the middle class, we all either know a nurse, a teacher, an ambulance driver, within the NHS or within education, or we have been to the NHS for help, or our children are in school, or we are teachers. And I'm very proud at this moment of the British public, because we're not turning on our own, because these are our people. Obviously, everyone in the country is our people, but it's like, once again, the poor, the working class, and the middle class, these are our family members. These are our direct relatives, colleagues, and they affect all of our lives, don't they?
Yeah, I think the government's thought it wasn't going to be like that, didn't they? I think they thought that people would start turning, and obviously there is an element there that don't agree to it, but I think the vast majority agree to what they're doing. Potentially that may change when the teachers strike, because it's going to affect a lot more people. You know, when teachers strike, like if you don't need the hospital, you don't need a nurse at that time, do you? So you don't really realise the effect that the strikes are having in that sense. But there's a lot of people who have children that go to school that don't have children that go to school. Then there may be a boss of someone who has children who can't come to work because their children are off school because of strikes. I think it's, I think the effect of a teacher being off could potentially affect more people than a nurse and an ambulance. Like, you only call an ambulance if you're in an emergency, don't you?
But it's like with I saw on one of the social media searches going, oh well, they're gonna have 7 days off. But last year when I took my child out of school, I had to pay the fine. But we've seen it straight on a selfish point, aren't we? Well, I had to pay £60, whereas we need fair pay, because if our teachers don't have fair pay and we take away the pensions and we take away the school holidays, who in the right mind wants to be a teacher? Same with the nurses. You go into these jobs as a teacher, and obviously we have good and bad and everything, but as a good teacher, which most of them are, good teachers are there to teach to the best of their ability. A nurse is there not only just to keep someone alive, is to care for someone. And if we're not paying the people the fair wage, then we lose them. We lose them to private. We lose them to going abroad. We lose them to going to bloody
Different
work in Aldi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We lose them to other jobs, whereas they are born. We're all born with certain things that we're good at, and that some people are born teachers, and some people are born carers. Some people, I mean, imagine being on the ambulance. You're getting through the traffic, and then they got someone else, someone's dying. It takes a special breed of person, and we're not paying them accordingly. It's cruel. It's terrible. It's inhumane. So, for the sake of being uncomfortable, we've got to allow them to do it.
Well, I think you've got to realise the circumstances of them not sticking up for their rights, and that is the schools will continue to be underfunded. The teachers won't want to be there because they don't see, or we don't feel like they see the value in them. There's nothing worse than having someone there who feels undervalued. You're not going to give your best at that point. They're not going to. Same with nurses, and same with ambulance drivers, same with the railway workers. If people feel undervalued, they're not going to give you their best, and that's the way people are feeling. And ultimately, if none of these things are funded right, that's far more damaging than strikes. Far more. We're seeing it in the NHS now. Even without strikes, there's 500 people dying a week because of the backlog and because of the weight on ambulance drivers and the lack of nurses and the lack of care, and that's what underfunding does.
And the ambulance drivers, you're waiting there like 5 hours with people in the back, and they got put in their eggs. They're thinking, the phone's going, go on, we need someone down here. And they're going, I want to. What can I do? Just will you leave you in the shed? But there's got to be something there. There's got to be something. Extensions. I'm not clever enough to answer. If anyone is clever enough, please let me know.
Well, the solution at the moment is to put them out into the community quicker, into nursing homes, care homes. But the flaw is with that, there's not enough staff to cover that end of things. So it's a really flawed plan. And again, it comes from 13 years of being underfunded. This is what happens. This is where we're in because of that.
Well, I saw something. It's going to cost £10 billion to give people the right money. And he went, oh, but we're going to hold that money back for our frontline workers. Go, well, how much more frontline can you get than your nurses, your ambulances, and your teachers?
That's just bollocks, for want of a better word, in it. Look, ultimately, that money, so if it's going to cost £10 billion, that money goes into people's wages who then spend it in the economy. That £10 billion, every bit of that's taxed. It's by the time it's spent and back into the bank's profits, it's probably been taxed 3 or 4 times. So ultimately they get that money back either way.
But it's simple, like with these angels of 2 years ago. Every key worker, from your shopkeepers to your binmen to your tarmackers, all the people who kept the country going when everyone else couldn't. at that time, people were applauding and we forgot about it. And you're thinking, once again, we talk about this all the time, but bloody parking. And you're thinking, what world do you live in? We've got to look after these people. We've got to look after. We've got to pay them the right wage.
You've got to pay them so they don't need to use food banks. And as I mentioned, I think last week, there's 2 hospitals in the Black Country that have had to set food bank up for the staff.
It's just criminal.
It is, isn't it? It's just you can't get your head around it, can you?
And when these people, I mean, I'll put a bit of a tangent, but I went to a shop the other day, and we were there, and this is different but the same. You got people. Like I went for a blood test. I'll show you. I went for a blood test the other day, and nowadays you have to make an appointment. You have to make an appointment to go for a blood test. But I've got a letter from my specialist, so I can just apparently go in. But you have to make an appointment. You get there. My name's Kevin Dillon. You haven't made an appointment. I've got a letter. We managed to get it done. But there, as I walked in the one in Merry Hill now, there was 3 to 5 nurses who were twiddling their thumbs, wanting to work. But then people were turning up saying, can I come in for a blood test? And they were having to be turned away because they hadn't made an appointment.
Who's made that policy? That's just madness, isn't it? It's just madness. If it's full in there, they turn up and you say you've got to make an appointment. But if literally the people waiting to do those things, then surely common sense prevails and you go, you know what, you're here, let's get it done.
But it's like you can't at the moment, like, once again, these aren't the doctor and nurse's fault, what I'm about to say, so I'm not having a go at them. I'm not having a go at anyone. But how have we gone backwards since COVID? When you phone up on a Monday, can I have an appointment? Sorry, Mr. Dillon, there's no appointments. Well, can you get me in any time in the week? If you're still pretty, can you come in Thursday? Yes. Now you have to do it day by day.
Yeah.
And I think who's kept that rule in? And then, like, on my personal doctors, I can't phone in anymore. And you can't just turn up at the surgery to ask for an appointment. I'm visually impaired. Oh, we'll get your wife to send an email. Great. My wife goes to work, and you're thinking, surely put a little line under it saying, because of your circumstances, either you can come, your mom can come, your wife can come up, or phone us.
But sure, it should be that for anyone. Why make booking an appointment hard?
Yeah.
Why not give you 5 or 6 different options to book that appointment?
I can't read. Okay. I can't write. I can't see. I haven't got a device.
Yeah.
This way suits you.
Yeah, that's just madness, isn't it? That you can't do that.
But if there is anyone for the NHS, tell us, because I bet it infuriates you.
Yeah.
I saw these girls there, and you saw them go like, bring him in, and this person on the desk, and we all have a go at the receptionist, but it's not her fault. She don't want to lose her job but you're thinking, what has happened to common sense?
Yeah. And if you have got an appointment and there's 5 waiting, why not book them for appointment like in 2 minutes' time?
Well, the ladies, my mum was there, and she said there's 2 ladies. One was a woman around about our age. Make an appointment on your phone. Just do it now. And she went, oh, thank you. And the other lady went, I haven't got a phone. That could have been my mum. That could have been me just going, I'm here. I haven't got a device. I don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So that woman behind the counter should just go, I shouldn't do this. But, you know what I mean? But once again, it's like when you turn up to an A&E and you broke your leg or you've been stabbed or whatever, and you go, I want to be seen now. And you're having to go at the person. They go, we can't make this go any faster.
Yeah.
And that's the shame about it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there's that many vacancies now within the NHS that delays are going to be there. And there's that many vacancies because there's not good pay or good working conditions.
But what
are 2 things that are quite easily fixed.
But back in our day, you had Worsley Hospital, you had the Guest, you had Russell's Hall, there's another one somewhere. Where is it? But we had a couple of hospitals all around here. So like Wordsley was mainly maternity, but it had other bits. The Guest had this, Russell's Hall. But then you shut all the other hospitals around to make a super hospital.
Yeah, try to condense
it. Corbett's.
They're still there.
Corbett's is still there, but that was the other hospital I was thinking of. But it's like, well, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because how about if one is overrun? How about if a super bulk does come in? How about if something happens? But if we've got more options all around us,
Well, they've done the same with the police stations now.
well, yeah,
They closed the police stations, and it's all one hub somewhere. But it's it just doesn't work, does it? It doesn't work like that. And they're looking at reopening Stourbridge now because, funny enough, crime's gone off since they've closed that police station.
it's a deterrent. And if
Yeah.
you've got someone coming from 2 miles away, be it an ambulance or a bobby, or if you've got someone coming from 20 miles an hour, 20 miles away, that's a massive difference.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that they're out on the road near places, but it just doesn't work that way.
Or like back in the day, a bobby would be out. Whenever you see a bobby now, it's blue lighting. He's on the way to go somewhere, and that's the same with the ambulance. You know what I mean? Ambulances were on the to set off somewhere. Now they're either parked outside the hospital or they're on the way. You know what I mean? Like my wife used to work on the ambulances, and people still work there who we know, and you've got 100,000 phone calls coming all the time, and just going, it's going to be 2 hours, it's going to be 5 hours, it's going to be. I was something on the news the other day, and they said it's the first. Like we've said this before the lockdown, we're going to have a massive PTSD breakdown of nurses and doctors, and you've got doctors and nurses who are signing off on the Tuesday, going back in the Wednesday, and the person still hasn't been seen.
Yeah.
And how demoralising that is when you've had a 12-hour shift or 10-hour, whatever shift it is, you're grueling, you can't physically give any more. Then you go back the same day and you go, Mr. Cadman's still here.
Yeah.
He still ain't got a bed.
Again, I mean, this is why while they're striking, it's not just about pay. It's about the dangers that's actually there. That's just dangerous, isn't it? Whatever's going on, and it's down to being underfunded, either underfunded or the money's not channeled in the right direction. We don't run the book, so we don't know kind of that. But ultimately, there's not enough funding on the lower floor to accommodate what's going on. So whether it's from the money not being put in the right position, or whether it's from not having enough money, that's up to other people to decide. But ultimately, they're not just striking to get better pay. They're striking to get better conditions where patients aren't waiting there for 3 days to be seen.
And they're looked after.
And
there isn't just one nurse.
And there's more than them because it's decent pay. There's more. People aren't leaving to go elsewhere.
Isn't just one nurse looking after 13 people. Who's not just a nurse. You're a matriarch. You're a cleaner. You're a counsellor. You run around trying to do everything, putting out fires all the time. And one person can't look after 13 people.
No, and there's exactly the same issue within social care as well now. I was speaking to a social worker the other day, and she basically said, I can't remember the full safe range, but the safe range is something like 10 people to one social worker. She had 30 people she had to look after. Now, these people that come out of hospital tend to have to go down that care route, whether it's social care or whatever, and that's what's backing up hospitals as well. There's not enough people on the outside to look after these people, so they're not being released.
But it's great when we keep hearing this care in the community. There's not enough carers in the community, and the community doesn't look after the community. So you've got these poorly people who are isolated, not having the right care because they don't get the right care, not having the tablets, not having the food. Bump, they go back in, and you're thinking it's an endless circle.
It is.
But once again, we've got to be looking after our carers more. The care in the community. The home help and the carers and the
unpaid carers,
and the paid carers. We've got to be looking after them all. I mean, like if you're a carer for your loved one, it's farcical how much you get paid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, they call it a volunteer job, and that's why they get round it. But ultimately, you don't volunteer to do it. It's a position that you find yourself in, and you can't, as we just said, you can't actually rely on anyone else to do it for obvious reasons. As you just said, there's not enough people. They're underpaid. Blah blah. We can go on and on. So yeah, it's you know what, Kev, though, you'd find there's a lot less unpaid carers who would have issues if people who were supposed to be helping you did the job.
Yeah.
To be quite honest,
Yeah.
you know, it's not. I think there's an understanding that it's not a lot of pay, but you are looking after a loved one. There's things within law that say you should have respite as a carer. It's literally in law you should have respite, and you could go around pretty much any carer and ask them what respite they're getting. It'd be absolutely none. Absolutely none. You know, and things like that. If they actually followed the letter of the law, and this is local authority, and give these carers respite, again, you'd go, okay, well, we're not paying pay grade, but we're looking after that, and you kind of had an understanding. Or if you could phone a service up and they actually get back to you, you know, or send an email and actually say, actually, I've received your email, I'm onto it. Or, you know, but there's none of that. There's no actual care in that side of things.
And as we've always been, like the mental
and we
health,
call strike.
And well, but imagine if the volunteer sector, not just from carers to, I don't know, boxing coaches, football coaches,
food bank workers,
food bank, whoever, you know, the Samaritans, you know, all these people, the volunteer service just went, all right, then down tools. And you're thinking, bloody hell, this unpaid army, the country's folding.
Yeah.
Even like, you know, the people in the hospitals who are going taking your coffees, they wear the red tops.
Yeah.
And the volunteers, and I'll tell you something where you know better than most. When you've been in there for a time and just someone going, do you want a bicky? Do you want a couple? Do you want a couple? You know what I mean? That kind of, thank you, love. Thank you. And it's nice, isn't it, having someone there?
Yeah.
And they're so underrated. But if you take away the volunteers, man, I think, like, what's it called? A national strike? The general strike. I think it's on the door. I think it's there. I think it's got to, we've got to be patient when it happens. It will affect us all. But we need action now. We've gone so far, and it's weathering all of us, from the middle class to working class to the poor. It is affecting us now. And it has done for a long time. But it's so apparent now. If we aren't going to be uncomfortable for a bit, we're never going to grow as a nation.
No, that's right. That's right. Everyone should be out there on that strike with them at that point.
And applauding them and just going, you know what? It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But tough times make tough people.
Yeah.
Growth only comes from adversity. So now is the time to be understanding and go, I understand.
They're doing it for the benefit of everyone. That's what you got to remember. So it might not benefit us now, but it will benefit everyone in the long run.
Because on the mental health tip, like you saying about people not helping, you know, when the people who should be helping us aren't helping us, in fact, they're putting up even more obstacles than enough. To these nurses not having the pay rise, the teachers, to should I strike, shouldn't I strike? Well, if I strike, I've still got to pay my electricity. I've still got to make those decisions. To not have a week's paid work plays very much on your mental health, doesn't it?
Oh, of course it will.
When you've still got your bills, you've still got a family, you've still got all your bills, and you're thinking, I've got to be brave now. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, in terms of cost of living, it's only going to go up, isn't it? So if these people don't strike now, eventually, if they're already at food bank now in hospitals, eventually that's going to get worse and worse and worse, to the point, well, what happens, I don't know. So you've got to strike now while you stand any kind of chance of being able to afford to take that time off, because it's only going to get worse.
It's power to the people, man.
Yep, definitely.
As I always say, the people are the government, but we've got to stand up. We can't expect other people to do it for us. So we have got to be prepared to get uncomfortable so we can have the changes.
Yeah.
And I think that'll leave us. Now, hopefully this Thursday we're joined by Sarah, who is a pharmacist. So she's going to be talking about different pharmaceuticals and diabetes, find about different things on diabetes, what I'm interested in, because I have some of my young boxers downstairs at the club who are diabetic, so I'm always willing to learn. You know, that's what education is, asking questions so they can give us the answer. The only way of beating ignorance is by asking questions and listening to the answer. In fact, that'll be my quote. The only way of beating ignorance is by asking questions and listening to the answer. So, guys, until we see each other next time, I want you all to take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.